Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. I'm Ted, hanging out with
Ryan,
Dave,
and today we're going to talk about the Planeshift Zendikar, which WOTC recently put out as a guide to playing D&D and Magic the Gathering.
drop down the description below where you can find out how to game with Nerdarchy as well as getting weekly tips from our newsletter.
So we have a 38-page download that you can get free from the WOTC website. We'll grab a link and we'll put it down below so you can jump to it if you haven't seen it yet. What do you guys think?
It's beefy. Like, they put a lot into this.
Substantial, yeah.
And, not only that, though, I was really surprised that they did it. Like, we've had a lot of conversations off camera, some on camera, but essentially, like, I think the conclusion we always came to, like, this would be a good idea, but we don't think Wizards of the Coast wants to get the stink of D&D onto Magic the Gathering because it's their cash cow.
Well, in a commercial sense, like, Dungeons and Dragons, you buy all your books at once. It's a lot of front-end cost, whereas, like, Magic the Gathering, they bleed the people dry over a very... It's like the mob, they just leech them, and then, like, just wash, rinse, repeat. So they didn't want to... Like, you would think that maybe they didn't want to get people into a hobby that's cheaper, and, like, if they enjoy it, like, what if they start doing Dungeons and Dragons rather than Magic the Gathering, right? Not spending that money every cycle that comes out, or every new tournament.
Right.
Maybe, but I don't feel like that would really happen. I feel like if you're gonna do something, you'll probably do both. Like if you like one, you like the other. Unless that this hobby is actually able to pull you away from that one. Mm-hmm. I guess that could be like the concern. But I feel like, when I was gaming with people that played Magic, they all did both.
Right.
A lot of times like. They'd pull out the Magic cards before we gamed, and while they're waiting, and like, let's do a pickup game or whatever.
Right. So before we get into the actual content, you didn't play Magic.
No.
I played Magic for a long time, but have not played
in a long time.
In about a decade. I'm done with it. It's too costly, but there's a lot of rich stuff there.
Speaking of bleeding dry,
I'd also done it for some years, and like I still have my cards and my decks. Mm-hmm. I have one friend I'll get together and have some beers and play Magic with every once in a blue, but like I was pretty much done playing as of the Exodus cycle, which was like the early 2000s, as far as getting really new cards or anything like that.
When you stopped, Ted, do you know which...
I believe... I know I played the full Mirrodin block, and I think there was the next set that came out after that. I got some cards, and when I bought cards, I would buy the booster box as opposed to individual packs and whatnot. So whatever came out the next cycle, I think I bought those two, but I don't even remember what they were because I opened the packs and never actually played the cards. So... Yeah. So... On to the actual content. I'm really impressed, as you said, Dave. It is very beefy. We get a lot of content. It is written by James Wyatt with the cover art by Adam Peckett.
The first thing that grabbed me was the fact that it was James Wyatt at the byline. Just because he did a lot of work in 3rd edition with Ebron. Mm-hmm. And in 5th edition, I don't remember if I've seen his name at all. Mm-hmm. He might be in there as
he
part of
might have done Unearthed Arcana, I think. He might have had a credit on one, maybe.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'd have to go through and check. But he's definitely not been a name that's been coming up that I've been saying. And then again, maybe I've just missed it, but it's always a possibility.
So the first thing is we get the introduction and the knowledge. It's not a huge amount, so we're at 4 pages with art about lore and the world. So it's a sampling to get you into how to use this world, but it's certainly not enough. It's not a campaign setting. It's literally 4 pages, and
I think it's enough to get started, though, especially if you're familiar with Magic.
I think this is really like fan service to people that are in both worlds of D&D and Magic the Gathering.
And absolutely, and for something free, I couldn't ask for more than this. And we, as Dave says, we've brought up many times the whole idea of, is there a way to do Magic the Gathering and D&D? Yeah. And here is something, and
I like the way they did it here. I know Ryan had his own thoughts. And I've seen other people that want to try and do it, and they wanted to kind of be like, they wanted to make it so that you're more like the mages summoning the things instead of like you are like an adventurer playing in that world. And I like this better. I like the lore they give you. I think it would be a fun world to play in.
I 100% agree with you, Dave. I don't think that they could take D&D and make it be you're the mages summoning the things. Like, if you want to do that, play Magic the Gathering.
Well, also too, it becomes like a miniature game. Like if you like as in miniatures, like tabletop wargaming type of thing. Because if you're this big, like very powerful thing, and you're gonna field like these legions of like these hordes of creatures.
I think if you were gonna do that, it would really require a whole new set of rules.
Yeah.
And it would be boring.
Well, no.
It'd be kind of doing the same thing.
No, I don't think it would. So here's the thing. It would be a different game. It would be a miniature war game at that point in time,
right.
not a tabletop role-playing game. So you have to break it down to being an individual character in this world, or it's not a tabletop role-playing game. Like,
Right.
it's not... I don't see how they do that otherwise. The one thing I was saying is, like, I wish they did a little bit more of, like, is there a way to get the feeling of mana and being tied to, like, the certain colors of the red, the blue, the black.
That is something that I would agree that this is totally lacking, that tie, not having any actual link to mana. There's no link to colors.
Well, there's a slate. There's a very
Well,
slate.
they do. They
cosmetic.
basically go,
It's
well,
cosmetic.
if you're a druid, you probably draw from green, and if you're a mage, depending on what kind of magic you're using, you draw from here.
Yeah.
And they even talk about certain monsters in the sense that like they're fueled by certain kinds of mana. So yeah, it's just an aesthetic. It's not.
It's
not
there.
mechanic.
It's there as a flavor as opposed to
You know what they have to do? They should probably do is like sort of whenever they have those discussion of like Manual of the Planes, like 3rd edition and like past editions where they have it just like suffused with different sort of energies. Basically, they could have zones or regions on the map that like if you're here, like this is what tends to kind of happen. Like maybe you have a slight like regeneration when you're on the green area or zone
Right.
or whatever. So there could be a thing that could happen.
Well, I think if they actually manage to get decent feedback on this, it could very well.
Then they'll put some real brain power in to figure it out.
Well, I think they could fuel an actual sellable product that people will shell out money for. I told Dave right away. As soon as I saw this, I was looking to do what he did with the Player's Guide to the Planes. I went to DriveThruRPG and I'm looking how do I buy this 38 pages and get it shipped to me in a book, because the art is great. There's a lot of useful stuff here, and I was ready to be like, here, take my money.
Shut up and take my money. That's right. Yeah.
So
all right, Fry.
Yeah.
So we have quite a bit in the races. What do you guys feel about that?
All right. So humans are humans. There's nothing really look at that. The first
Nothing.
one.
Move along. Nothing to see here. Well, no. I mean, also they root everything in the world, so the humans do have that.
Right. So you've got your humans,
but it doesn't
there's
really change anything.
Yeah, there's nothing changed. So you do have next is your core, and these
They're
are
pretty hardcore.
and they're nomadic mountain people. And they're really neat looking, and when you actually get down to their powers,
so I'm thinking these guys would make like badass high flying monks.
Yeah.
With that wisdom and dex.
Wisdom and dex would be is a significant bump. And I
they
know
have
you.
a damn climbing speed. What the hell?
So this is where Dave was like, "What the flip?" It says they're automatically, most core are lawful good. They get a walking speed of 30, a climbing speed of 30. They get athletics and acrobatics. I think that is pretty crazy when you combine that with
Brave and lucky.
Brave and lucky, which is
I don't even understand, like, Brave I can kind of see, like, the warrior culture thing, but Lucky I'm just like, well, I mean, back in, to quote, like, the Magic sort of, like, mechanics, is, like, they could redirect damage from one another. Like, they could do that. So, like, maybe doing some sort of thing like that they can sort of mitigate damage or something.
Because they don't fall when they're doing their mountain climbing shit.
Yeah.
That's why they're lucky.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I
They're
mean...
not splattering.
But to go along with the lore of like as I've known the core, but maybe they've changed in past iterations of the game. So yeah,
and they get their own silent language.
so they have hand sign language.
Yeah, and the art on this stuff is just so good. Yeah, it's crazy.
Which wasn't an attributing factor to me saying, yes, I want to have this as a physical thing.
Yeah.
Printing out all of these pages is pretty inconducive.
So the cool thing about this too is like with all these different characters, you can literally take your cards and like this is the NPC. Yeah,
absolutely.
You can just use it's another purpose for your Magic the Gathering.
I don't have
cards.
any cards.
Well, everyone's just gonna point and laugh at you.
You can go to your local gaming store and buy some.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's
It's really meant for the people that are into it. Yeah.
So next we have Merfolk, which almost every iteration of Merfolk I'm used to seeing in artwork, and including on most of the Magic the Gathering cards,
had the tail.
They had the tail, and here we're seeing creatures that they have feet. They've got
They all lost their voice.
So here's the thing I was kind of thinking, right? When as soon as I heard Merfolk, I was like, well, what if they do like the splash thing?
Yeah.
Or which has been done with mermaids or whatever, where they can kind of like go back and forth between legs and the tail. But in this they just like, all right, well they just got fins off the back of their calves and stuff.
So it made it cool, and now you can play essentially a sea race. And
not be boned on land. Because that's usually the problem.
I thought it was a little bit odd though that their stats are they tend towards intellectual stats and the mentals instead of physical, where I kind of feel like a race that's amphibious is going to be
hardy. Yeah,
a lot hardier. Whether you're talking con or strength or even dexterity, I feel like, I mean, they have the swim speed obviously, but I just feel like that environment would just make you would probably give you a physical stat bump.
I agree. I think they're taking more of the culture and how the Merfolk are actually raised within the lands of Magic, Zendikar, as you will, and they're not beefy creatures. So they don't have high attacks, they don't have high hit points, so therefore they're like, well, if we give them physical bumps...
Yeah, wait, you're talking about the game now, aren't you?
Yes.
They're usually like 1/1s or 1/2s.
They're in the 2/2 to
oh my God,
range.
you guys are such fucking nerds.
I don't even know what it is. Yeah.
How do you reply?
Yeah, I don't know. We're a little thing called nerdarchy. Yeah.
So like I feel like that definitely fits to the actual cards and the lore of the world.
I would like to play a Merfolk looter, please. Actually, I love Merfolk looters. They're awesome.
Mm-hmm. I actually have a Merfolk deck, so
yeah.
The thing that struck me too is like, again, this is another race where you're getting a lot of skills. They get 2 skills instead of 1.
Yeah.
With these guys, they're getting 2 skills and a cantrip.
right.
I thought the druid cantrip is cool. Like if you went with a thorn whip and reflavored it to like a tentacle or something, would be pretty badass.
Be pretty cool.
So I think that there's some really cool stuff here, and again, you get 3 different sub races, or as I call them, creeds, and here it's showing the bump in your
sub race as
opposed to in your core race.
Yeah, which by bump 10 is referring to the +2 to a stat instead of a +1.
Yeah.
Yes.
For you guys at home that don't speak Tetanese.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of cool to see it being done that way. It's not something that's standard, but seeing more and more of it, it's something that you can make.
Unless you're the cozy, then you just get kind of boned.
Well, not when you...
Oh, no, never mind. They get the plus to intelligence. It's charisma intelligence.
Yes, so you still get the 2, and your charisma gets the second bump. So.
Yeah, which that's actually completely new. Haven't seen that configuration anywhere else.
Right. So, really cool race. It's very, very cool to be able to see that. I'd like to see more things set up that way. Next, we move on to Vampire, which... I would have to say, and I said this off camera, that if I were running Magic the Gathering in D&D, we already have Vampire the Monster.
So these would have to be like vampires or
well,
something.
But here's the thing. Like this isn't to bring Dungeons and Dragons players into playing Magic. This is to take Magic players and bring them into playing Dungeons and Dragons. So like all the terminology they're not going to be as familiar with from Dungeons and Dragons. Like they're not carrying the stigma or the whatevers of what it is in D&D. They're already looking at it from Magic. So so like really this is to like maybe you're the one or two Dungeons and Dragons players in your group of friends that play Magic the Gathering, and like I think they're all going to be perfectly fine with that language.
Here's one of the things that I kind of picked up on. They're really heavy on the charisma with a lot of these races.
I would.
I mean, things are just more likable in Zendikar. Is
they're
really
prettier.
what it comes down to. Yeah, that is pretty funny.
I feel a little prettier just reading about it, to be honest with you.
Your charisma goes up when you're holding this 38 pages, for sure.
So, vampires are pumpty. That while the core are in my opinion overpowered with getting 2 skills, brave and lucky. Here we have a power that is literally limitless. Which is their bloodthirst.
Unlimited power.
You can drain power and life energy from a willing creature or one that is grappled by you, incapacitated or restrained. Make a melee attack against the target. If you hit, you deal 1 piercing damage and 1d6 necrotic damage. The target's hit point maximum is reduced by an amount equal to the necrotic damage taken, and you regain hit points equal to that amount.
So the healing factor of it is good. The actual attack and damage as an ability doesn't bother me because it's pretty much the same as using a weapon or a spell, or not even as good in a lot of cases. And the fact that you actually have to grapple them and get them restrained in order to use this on them, where they have to be like, here's my neck, go away, please.
So I think as a racial feature, I think without some kind of balancing factor, I think that is hard to deal with as for a DM. That could be difficult to deal with if your players are essentially more intelligent than you.
Well, I mean, you have to you either have to feed on people when they're asleep and deal with the repercussions of them waking up, or you have to be.
I'm just picturing like a bunch of adventurers like camped out around the fire and they're all crashed out, and you wake up and like the fighter's like hovering over your neck. You're like, oh, what are you doing?
Yeah. Well, and also too, like it's just the question of the morals of the party. Like, is the party going to be cool with you doing that? Like maybe the foes, but not to commoners and village folk and this and that.
But there's nothing that says like you have to feed. This is just an ability that you have.
Oh yeah.
So
no, I mean it's a choice. It's a choice that you make. And like if I were to play a vampire character, hell yeah, I want to like grapple people and
absolutely
regenerate. Like a vampire barbarian, just sick because they're probably one of the better grappling I think choices you could make. Yeah.
You were also saying you could do the same with monk.
Well, no, see, because monks like. The best monk is a monk that plays high on dex, like it's the superior build, and you're just so you can build. You can build an inferior monk that goes strength. I've done it, and it was fun. And with Flare of Blows, it actually does let you grapple 2 people, so you could do that. So that's a way to do it. But yeah, the barbarian is like the best. Like
plus when you're raging,
I'm gonna hold you down. Yeah, you're at advantage.
That's
you just
true.
hold them down and like just suck them dry. Yeah.
So I think that. Again, very very powerful, and we'll see how things play out. What do you guys think about the vampire? So goblins, yet another cool race where we get multiple tribes.
So I don't know. I guess it must be a card flopper thing. The resistance to fire damage and psychic damage. Like I guess guess it's an environmental thing for wherever the goblins live.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool from their grid ability. And then they get this ability that's kind of useless.
Yeah.
Where they get a +1 to their armor class. But it's not a +1 to their armor class. Their armor class is 11 plus dexterity modifiers. So it's not really
it's not
useful.
as good as a solid +1 or whatever. Like so like it's who makes out the best is like a goblin spellcaster. Yeah, exactly.
Or a sorcerer. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of funny how it is. But yeah, and it's also weird that they get a +2 to con, and that's it. Like I don't know if their other abilities are that great to even say that.
Yeah, it's like you could go, okay, well, they're getting that, the half damage from fire and necrotic, or fire and psychic. Psychic doesn't happen that often.
Yeah.
They'd actually make good barbarians with that con bonus.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, they are weighing that armor class bump and the resistance to fire insanely heavily, because the other races are getting multiple skills and powers, and these guys literally have a single proficiency, the bump to armor class, and
Hey, you know
the
what?
resistance.
With the armor class, though, that is usable too for the barbarian.
No, because the way they're written, both the monk and the barbarian abilities and the draconic sorcerer, they replace your armor class.
Yeah,
They don't add to it.
Son of a bee. Never mind.
Like, because early on when we saw that, we were looking at the the monk gives you your wisdom modifier, the barbarian gives you your con modifier. So can I make a monk barbarian and get both?
You
And
can,
no.
yeah. Where the Warforged is written that you get a +1 to your armor class.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which, like, if it was written like that, it would be so much better. I mean, because if you look at the other things they're getting, like the one is animal handling and advantage on dexterity and stealth check. Yeah, on dexterity, stealth checks made to hide in Rocky Mountain subterranean environments. So it's something, but it's not much. You get thieves' tools here.
So it's a single proficiency, whereas the other races they're getting multiple. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Actually, the lava step. That's the tribe. They get that one thing, and
Yes.
the other ones get animal. So really, it's compared to the other races, the goblin really gets boned.
And also too, like for goblins, a goblin not getting some sort of bump to dex, like some sort of at least the +1 to dex, like that just seems a little silly to me. Like they're supposed to be like these spidery, nimble sort of creatures,
And they've always been portrayed, even in Magic, as agile. So
yeah. Like I don't know if it would be,
thumbs downs on the goblin.
Yeah, I think they need a little bit of
Tweaking.
like nuancing
Love.
and tweaking. Yeah, absolutely.
So we move on to elves, which it says, the elves of Zendikar have much in common with the elves of other worlds, yet they're not as portrayed as Dexy, because their primary bump is a +2 to wisdom. So I thought that was kind of interesting. You still get the keen senses, you still have the Fey ancestry, you still get dark vision.
I almost feel like some of it, like that change, is like just like different to be different type
Yeah,
thing.
like it's arbitrary.
Yeah, it's like but they're elves. But we're
it's
gonna make
possible.
them different. But they're elves.
So you get the one gets the bump to charisma, and
Which there's so many things that do the charisma wisdom bump in these races. Like they're loving all over that. Like
Right.
I don't think that's pretty much optimal for anything either. So
right. And then you get the proficiency in combination of 2 skills or tools of your choice. So that right there, that's pretty crazy.
yeah, because they're already getting perception, so they're getting 3.
Right. The Jurgen Nation, you get here's your bump to Dex. You get the weapon
These are
training.
basically your wood elf. That's
Yeah,
just a wood elf.
absolutely, yeah.
With the stats flipped.
Right.
Yeah.
That's fine. Whatever.
So here we have the Moldaya Nation. We have an elf with a +2 to strength, which is kind of cool. You get the superior.
It's not
dark
unique.
vision.
It's unique to this edition, but it's not new. That goes way back to 2nd edition.
Okay.
Well, the wood elves of 2nd edition, I think, used to get a bonus to strength.
Yeah,
actually.
because there used to be wood elves and wild elves,
Yeah,
right? There
yeah.
were 2 different races, and the one that was like Grugach or something like that were the ones that got the bonus to strength. And they were like the one of them was like a wood elf that was extremely xenophobic.
Why wouldn't you be? I mean, you want to keep the Yumis out of your territory,
At all costs.
The short ears, yeah.
So here we finally have a race that actually has a deficit, being the sunlight sensitivity. So these guys are kind of similar to
Drow.
your Drow, without actually
They're
being
like
Drow.
they're like drow on roids.
And then of course they have their magic abilities and weapon training.
Which they had some cool choices: chill touch, hex, and darkness.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
then,
Hex is
again-
badass because it's just like you get to hate on everyone. So
yeah,
much.
well, once a day.
Yeah. But hate on them, you will. Yeah.
The bestiary. So with the bestiary, they did a lot of use this monster for that monster kind of deal. How to change things up. There is a couple new monsters in here though. 2 or 3 maybe.
One.
They have the cool Archeons that are basically flying lions. with a person on them, but the person isn't real, or the mount's not real, one or the other, but they're the same.
They're one and the same.
They're one and the same.
Yeah. So like, there's all the ways in which you'll reskin things. There's the
So it tells us, like, so if you say, oh, you want to use a Sphinx, it can be a Sphinx. You want to use a Drake, there's the Pteranodon or the giant eagle. We actually have a new Kraken that's in here, which is pretty cool. To Challenge 13, I think you were making comments off air about how you really like the feel of this one.
Yeah, it reminds me of the original Clash of the Titans movie. That kind of Kraken.
You skipped right over the Felidar, but I mean, it's just basically a really cool like paladin mount with some awesome healing ability. So
well, it's the lion unicorn combination.
Yeah.
Lion core. Yeah, so you get 3 new monsters. The Kraken, which is like Ted was saying, it's the giant humanoid. It's got all the tentacle cool stuff going on, and the one arm instead of a claw has tentacles. And I think it's got it says tentacles for legs instead. So it's kind of like the octopus centaur monster thing.
But I actually really like the feel about saying, hey, here's this concept you have in your head for a monster. You can just use these stats, and we've talked about that with our.
Personally, I think someone's been watching Fast and Dirty.
Yeah, well, I mean, they've clearly, because I mean, we're talking about the converting D&D and Magic into one thing, but no, I do love that. I'm joking, of course, a little tongue in cheek, but with they talk about the Hellions using the Remorize to represent the Hellion, because Flowstone Hellion was so friggin' badass. It was the one that
it was my favorite card of all time.
Yeah,
I love that thing. I slept with it under my pillow.
No, seriously, with the Flowstone Hellion, you put a giant growth on that, and you could turn it into an 11/1 creature, in quick order, and it was awesome.
So one of the cool things is these evil titans, the Eldrazi, and their spawn, and they do actually go in here, and there's a whole section where they tell you what kind of changes to make to different ones to customize them a little bit and give the feel for that particular sub-race or creature, or even the specific titans. And I even also say, hey, Tarash, Kraken, and Empyrean out of the monster manual would be a good fit for each of these. While they're still in their weakened state. Yeah. As they're trying to god up.
Yeah.
So I feel for number one, the fact that it's completely
for
free.
The price,
the price of admission is pretty good. A little sad to not see any slivers in there, personally. Because especially too, with slivers, you have whatever the slivers are going to be, and then you have another one enter the encounter, and all of a sudden that one is flying that just came, and now all the other slivers can fly.
I think
you guys need to be left alone with this article.
Yeah.
The shared abilities of the slivers, I think, would require some significant amount of work to get it. To play in a D&D situation.
I don't think so.
So perhaps
not from what you just described. It'd just be fun to mess with your players. You add another one that has an ability, and now they all have it.
Yeah. And they're oh, you guys are so screwed.
Yeah, it's like immutable power.
Yeah.
It could work.
Yeah, we could definitely make that work.
Yeah, especially the way we give XP in our games anyway. It wouldn't make a difference.
Yeah. No, it wouldn't.
Not at all. So I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm not even into Magic, and I thought that was a fantastic article. I like what they did. I like every aspect of it. I don't care that there's not a mechanic for mana, but I never played the game, so it's not that important to me. And I've always enjoyed the reflavoring stuff anyway. So you guys let us know in the comments below while you're at it. Like, share, and subscribe.
If you're Watts, get this as a buy on Drive-Thru RPG. You can check us out on Facebook.
You can check us out over on Instagram as well. And if you're going to run this try to convert Magic players into D&D players, put that in the comments below as well.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.